Welcome to the Landscaping Podcast. My name is Joel Barnett and I am your host. And in today's episode, I'm talking with Suzanne Lefroy from Lefroy Landscape Design. So Suzanne is a designer based in Perth, and I am extremely grateful to her because we just finished the chat and it's 6 p.m. on Sunday, Eastern Standard Time. And so this episode will be coming out within 6 hours. And as of 24 hours ago, wasn't going to be putting out an episode this week because I hadn't had anyone booked in. So really appreciate Suzanne coming on at short notice. And it's actually an awesome episode as well. Like I spoke to her obviously for an hour. There's a lot of things that within her design business that I love that not a lot of people do. And she's also got the right mindset about creating relationships with not only clients but also the contractors who are putting the gardens together and having like a team-like environment. Also love what she's doing with her Instagram page, like having highlights of each project and the bigger isolated projects using multiple tiles. So I asked her about that too. I really appreciate Suzanne coming on. So hopefully you enjoy this chat with Suzanne Lefroy. Suzanne, thank you for joining us on the Landscaping Podcast. My first question for you is, how did you start in the industry?
Well, I guess I kind of stumbled into it. I always loved gardens, and I always had my holidays growing up in outdoor areas. But it wasn't really until I finished school, I went to uni, did a degree in communications, and fell in love, got married, and then had twins. That about 18 months into it, I was like, gee whiz, this is really tough. I could do with just one day to me. So we lived across the road from a daycare provider. And I got my twin pram, pushed it up the hill, and the lady at the front office said, "Oh, do you work or do you study?" And I was like, "No, like I just want a mental health break." And she said, "Well, I tell you what, if you go and enroll in a hobby, a course of something that you love, you'll get your mental health break and you get half price childcare from the state government." So I was like, "Okay, thank you very much." Pushed the twins back down the hill home and rang up Tafe, and enrollments had just opened for landscape design. And literally, I enrolled that day, and 2 weeks later, I had my mental health day. I was driving down to Tafe.
Yeah, that's wild. One of my employees just had his first child
Yeah.
and talking about how hard it is. And I said, yeah, and people have twins right at off the start. Just, yeah, it's just insane. You don't realize it until you go through it, how hard it is. Because I remember going from one kid to two kids thinking, wow, this is really hard. So, and we'd had like 2 years worth of practice. So,
Yeah. Oh, look, I remember there were days when I was breastfeeding and one kid just kept waking up every hour and a half, and I was changing the wrong nappy and I didn't know what was going on. And the next day I'm pushing the twins down the street and everyone goes, "Oh, you're so blessed.
yeah,
Two babies." And I just said, I just wouldn't wish it on my worst enemy today.
yeah. I think the
But
only thing other than triplets that I could think is more challenging
oh,
is after you have your first one, just having twins close
yeah.
together.
Yeah, or you've had like all of your singletons and you're like, "We'll just have one more." And then boom,
Yeah. Triplets.
twins. Yeah, triplets. Oh, that would be tough. So anyway, as soon as I enrolled to do landscape design, I just had this burning desire. I loved it. It was everything.
Yeah. Yeah. And it would have been like a double-edged sword. Like not only are you able to get some sort of peace and quiet, but you're actually doing something you enjoy doing as well. So
Yeah, yeah,
yeah.
yeah. So, that lady gave me the best advice ever. And then I would just, I had to do a certificate in landscaping to do the landscape design course. I was, taught how to build like a little retaining wall, and it wasn't very good, and it was, maybe only 300 mil high. But we did a paving course, and it was just so fun to be working with my hands and also learning how to design and do hand drawings.
Yeah. Right. So how long was that course? How long did that go for?
Oh, so it lasted for 3 years, and I was just doing it, part time in bits and pieces and just ticking off the certificates as I went. And then at some point during the landscape design course, we did a unit on succulents. And this was, like in 2014, before they'd really taken off in WA anyway. And I was just obsessed. and I went down this journey of YouTubing and buying American books and American landscaping. And I thought to myself, I reckon I can have a red hot go of making a business with this. So I launched my first business called Perth Succulent Bowls, and I trounced my neighbourhood for weeks, and I took cuttings of everyone's plants, and I went to op shops and bought all of these cute little vessels, and I propagated and I designed. And I went down to my local farmers markets to launch my big business. And this lady came up to me and she said, I just have to tell you, but before the markets start, this is amazing. You're going to go crazy. And I was like, patting myself on the shoulders, thinking, oh, I'm an innovator here. No one else is doing it. And the business took off and it was wildly successful until the big supermarket chains kind of cottoned on. And then you could buy a succulent bowl as you're walking into IGA or Woolies. And then it just went down the curcula.
Yeah, right. Yeah, that would have been a lot of fun too. So you were doing like selling them fully planted out, like
Yeah,
design.
so it was like a florist
Yeah,
doing
cool.
same day deliveries all over Perth, and then like 5-star hotels were calling me in to do like 2 meter wide large displays, and then high end residential houses were getting me in. So I was doing big succulent displays and whole garden beds at their properties. And while I was doing that, I was chatting to them about landscape design because that's really what I was. And one started to feed into the other. And then I launched the Lefroy Landscape Design business. But I was just at this point getting spread a bit thin, being a mum, succulent bowl business, and also landscape designer. So I went with the succulent bowls until it petered out, and then pivoted to the landscape design. And I had to really invest in my computer skills and my software capabilities and learning the 3D programs. And once I did that, my world changed.
So did the landscape design course teach you any of those particular programs, or was it just about the principles?
No, not enough. They taught you all the hand drawing and all of the horticultural side of things and the plant selecting. And we maybe did 3 hours in a classroom with SketchUp. And I came out of that more confused than anything else. And I knew that's where it had to go, but I just couldn't find a course in Perth that offered me, like 1 or 2 hours once a week so I could kind of do it at my own pace. It was a whole day workshop, but I just needed a bit longer to be able to practice what I'd learned before I went on to the next skills.
Mm. Yeah, that's something I struggle with is like you could it's like reading a book. You could read the whole thing, but
Yeah.
then unless you're putting it into practice, it's too much
Yeah.
information
You
to
can't
take.
remember it all.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
And there was about 6 months where I wanted to throw my laptop out of the office window, like on a daily basis. I just couldn't get it. But the more time I spent with it and the more I YouTubed it and asked for help, the better I got. And now I'm really comfortable working in SketchUp in front of clients to build things on the spot. And I think I'm a much better designer being able to see it in 3D.
Yeah, so one of the things I found interesting with some people who use SketchUp is there's some people who will start use like doing like the 2D, and then other people just go straight into 3D doing the design and then convert it back. I'm just
Yeah,
curious.
some people will play around with like hand sketching first. I was just a terrible artist at school, can't draw anything. So I go straight to 3D. But what's interesting for me, and I say this to clients quite a bit, is you can't really take in the architecture or the whole space of a house until you see it in 3D and you can zoom all the way away from it and fly around it. And then you can really take in the amazing architecture of some particular houses, like the curves or the windows. And then those things that you see then infiltrate into the design decisions that you make on the ground.
Yeah. Yeah, there's like sometimes even I will look at a design and until it's actually built, didn't realize exactly how it's going to look. Like you've got a fair idea, but how it's all going to work, like the plans with the house and that sort of thing. So, yeah, it
Yeah,
helps.
it's kind of like you've got a jigsaw, right? And you've got these pieces of the jigsaw. You don't know what they look like, and you don't have the cover box of the jigsaw, but you know that there might be like a pool, a seating nook, and a fresco of some description. And you don't quite know where everything's going to go or the orientation of the pool, even though you know it might go in the back corner. But you've got to create this flow from inside to outside to the pool to the outdoor shower to the garden shed to make it all practical and functional. And I can spend days reworking locations and end up with a design that ultimately looks quite simple, but there's been so much thought and effort that's gone into it. And they're the best designs where it just looks like it works.
Yep. So when you started out the design side of things, did you had you spoken to anyone about the best way to do things, or is it all just everything you'd learned from the course?
Well, a lot of it was, yeah, like trial and error. I watched a lot of YouTubes. I read a lot of books. I was on Pinterest a lot. I was scrolling all of the best designers and trying to, imitate or replicate what they were doing. But it was really difficult to, I didn't really have any resources. I couldn't go back to Tafe. The Tafe course finished. So I reached out to them and said, like, where do I go from here? How do I get better? And I couldn't really start applying for full-time work with design firms because I didn't have the 3D skills and I wasn't going to put the kids in care for 5 days a week.
Mm.
So it was just a bit of a suck it and see, fake it till you make it, work your butt off, pick and choose, like the right clients that aren't too big, that didn't need pools, or maybe more softscape and retaining walls, and then invest in me and upskill myself. So it's been like, and I've been the apprenticeship, but I've the apprentice, but I've also been the boss trying to teach myself. Hasn't always gone that well.
Yep. So how did you go about getting that? What kind of work to start with?
Oh, look, it was pretty easy. Like my succulent Instagram page was just growing rapidly. So I had, 20,000 local followers in Perth, and I would just start putting like design tips out there. Did you know I'm also a landscape designer? Was anyone interested? Christmas is coming. I've got space available. No job too small. And people would reach out. So clients started coming in. It really hasn't been the problem of bringing the clients in. The problem's been producing a document or being able to work in 3D to communicate to a client and to the installing landscaper so that they know what to do.
Yep. So, did you find it a simple process converting it to layout? Because I know SketchUp does it 3D, and then you've got to have a separate program layout so that you can do the.
Yeah, look, I think layout is pretty simple, but that's it. It is simple. So it can be quite cumbersome because it doesn't necessarily feed back to SketchUp very well, but I'm able to produce a set of detailed drawings that can have like demolition pages, hardscaping selections, retaining walls, footings, planning plans, lighting plans, a whole package that the landscaper will work off. Or I've got to go down the path of learning Revit or AutoCAD. And it's still like bringing up emotional stress for me, having been through this learning SketchUp and layout. Just can't do it yet.
Yeah. So those plans you're putting out, are they using layout? Are they
Yeah, yep,
yeah. Yeah.
yeah. So I just import from SketchUp to layout, and then do my planting plans and lighting plans in that. Yeah.
Yeah. And are you doing any of the extra programs to make the 3Ds look more realistic?
Yep. So I also work with Lumion, which is kind of where the market's at, really. I think if you're going to go down the path of being a 3D designer and you have to compete with other companies that are producing real life renders, the only way to do that is to be able to produce products or images that look really close to what the clients are going to be getting.
Mm.
I really like Lumion. Like my favorite thing at the moment is I turn the wind mode on. And when you turn the wind on, it's obvious, right? But all the leaves and the tree branches start to move. But what that does is then change the shadows that are getting cast on the floor. And it's just so lifelike. You show that to a client and every time they're blown away.
Does that take an extra like 3 hours to render that?
Yeah, it takes a while. I try and just do it overnight.
Yeah. Yeah, that's like, did you have to get like a beefed up computer to be able to use
Yep.
that?
Yes, I had to go to a computer specialist. So it's like a teched up gaming computer with as
Yeah.
much RAM as I could get my hands on. And the computing guys are going to me, "What on earth are you doing?" And my 13-year-old son's walked in and he's gone, "Oh, mom, that PC looks amazing." I'm like, don't touch it. Don't even look at it.
Yeah, it's insane. Like, yeah, the one I use is says it's a gaming computer as well because that seems to be like, yeah, the bells and whistles.
Yeah. Are you working with like Lumion or Enscape?
Nah, that was my plan. Like we're using Vectorworks. That was the plan. And eventually I wanted to do that kind of thing, but yeah, it's not. I'm not at the stage of my career to be doing that yet because I was doing construction as well.
I
So
just,
you need to
yeah,
commit fully to it, and then whether I do then I don't know. But yeah, because that's the 3D can be a good thing and a bad thing as well. So if people think that that's what they're going to get,
oh,
like
yes.
especially when you're using the more realistic looks. If you
Yeah.
just got a SketchUp plan, they're not going to be as sort of sold on exactly how it's going to look. But yeah, with the Lumion, that it looks phenomenal. Some of the stuff,
It's
people don't
amazing.
realize it's
Yeah,
not
and I
real.
did have a client last week ask me about the outdoor cushions that I
Yeah,
had in the built-in bench seat, and I had to go, well, they're actually just for ornamentation and for show. I'm not specifying any particular outdoor cushions. So yeah,
yeah.
you can get caught out there.
Yeah, and it's a lot of the times because they're so like excited about it, like saved up all their money, waited for 6 months for the landscaper to be able to get there, and then they've been looking at the design the whole time, so they know exactly how it's going to look, and then if it's not exactly like the photo,
No,
then
you're planning like tube stock and 140 mil pots.
yeah,
You do have to have those conversations like along the way. Quite some people say they want the instant garden, but over here we're just at the peril of whatever we can get our hands on. There just seems to be plant shortages and plants aren't available and plants come into vogue and then you just can't access them. It's tricky.
have you noticed the plant shortages a lot more since COVID, or is it
Yes.
yeah,
Yeah. Yeah. I definitely have.
yeah, because that was the same thing down here. Is like there were never an issue getting any of the plants you want really, and then all of a sudden there's a lot more people interested in gardening and plants, so they're hard
Yeah,
to.
and I think, what we're seeing on social media and Pinterest and COVID has happened and everyone, might be working from home a lot more. So their space is suddenly becoming a whole lot more important to them. And I think that's fantastic. I think it's great. Everyone's kind of catching up. But I really want to try and, deliver a beautiful Lumion rendered landscape that but try and keep it on a budget. So, for example, you're a designer and you do the installation. So you have a good handle on tracking the costs or what a project's going to cost. Whereas I'm a boutique landscape designer, I have teamed up with a landscaper, but things cost a lot, and so for a client to do a garden you have to have a conversation, and it's a bit like, what are you expecting it's going to cost? Are you going to freak out if I tell you the number's going to start with a 2 and it's not 20,000? And then along the way I'm trying to design this space and not have that blow out, and it very easily can when you start adding in all the bells and the whistles.
Yeah. Yeah, and they're the most like what I found was when I was charging not enough for designs, like I had charged less than $1,000 for a design. The people who are paying that for a design haven't got any money to spend on the actual project, so
Yeah,
you can't do an amazing design because they've got to strip it back. So it's like the more you charge for a design, the better the more money they've got to spend on the project, and
yeah.
then you can do more impressive stuff, and then it builds from there. So
Yeah, yeah. Also, quite often, so the way my business works is I'll do the Lumion render before as a concept, right? Before I've selected plants and before I've selected any hardscape materials. So when I meet with the client, it might have paving, it might have aggregate, but my message is normally this is really about spatial layout and the flow. I'm not super worried about the hardscape selections, depending on where it's going cost wise. This is where we can start to adjust how much we spend, whether it's like outdoor tiles that are going to get screeded on a concrete bed, or it might be more entry level pavers. It's about the bigger picture of saying, where the trees are, the garden beds, the retaining, the pool fencing, and how that kind of relates to the house and your living space and what you're looking out onto.
So you're just using like generic plants and like normal.
Well, the issue with Lumion is that they don't have a lot of Australian plants. So it's kind of they have like the run of the mill, your pear trees, your crepe myrtles, your ginkgo bilobas, your eucalypts. So I can kind of drop them in. But having had a succulent business, I love working with succulents and blending them with natives, but I can't get those plants in Lumion. So it really is just to show them feature tree, the strappiness, the contrasting in textures. It's not one plant that's mass planted. It might be different layers.
Yes, and succulents I assume work pretty well in WA soil as well, do they?
Yeah, yeah, crappy soil, crappy
Yeah.
sandy soil, and they love it. And the maintenance is really good. You know, you would know that the brief from the clients is, I want it to look really good, but I just don't want any maintenance.
Yeah.
And
And
I
not
go,
cost
"Oh, that's
anything.
cool. I can design you a beautiful garden without any maintenance. And I'm going to introduce you to my maintenance guy, and he is going to come every month and he will take care of that for you."
Yeah. Yeah, it's one of those things. It's like maintenance is the most underrated thing for a landscape, I think, because I see the results of gardens that are looked after compared to ones that aren't, and
Yeah.
it's just what's the point of spending all that money on it if you're not going to look after it as well as you can?
Correct. And as a designer, I might pick a plant because of its color and its texture, but I don't want that plant to grow 2 meters by 2 meters.
Yeah,
My vision is that plant, it stays in its lane and it's, manicured and cropped or whatever the shape is. Unless the clients know that or the maintenance team know that, they kind of think for the first 3 months, well, this has been pretty easy. I haven't had to do anything because it's just settling in and growing. But then a year later, it's like a red hot mess and you don't know A from B.
yeah, and it could even be like it doesn't need to be a lifelong thing. Having a garden maintenance person look after it, they can just get it to a certain point. It's the same with turf; like they can get it to a certain point where it's a lot more easy to look after
Yeah,
once it's at that high level. So getting it there, and then you can just sort of if you're pruning balls, you can just trim little bits off rather than shaping it fully to start with. So
yeah,
yeah, I think there might be an option for people just to sort of do a shorter term. We'll give you what 18 months of maintenance, and then you can take over it.
yeah. And before the garden's, fully grown, you're dealing with all the weeds that are still trying to come through anyway. So it's a different kind of gardening. I think that's required for the first 18 months.
Yeah.
So do you only install your designs or are you installing, you do
No,
others?
we do anyone. So at the moment we're doing one for Ben Scott, and then the next project is one that I designed. So yeah, it's just whatever comes up. But because I love the way I've learnt design is by working for the best designers.
Yeah.
So just taking little bits and pieces of things that they do. So that's basically my apprenticeship has been working for them.
And what do you prefer? Do you prefer the designing or the installation or like combinations of both depending on the weather?
Yeah, it's combinations of both. I've loved it's been construction up until recently, and then I've started to get better at designs. So previously I would just do a design and it'd sort of get it finished and think, yeah, I'm glad it's finished and I'll get paid for it and
Yeah.
yeah, no, never got really that excited about it. But now I finish it and can't wait to see how it looks because I think it's going to look awesome. So
Yeah.
I've got heaps better at doing it, and that's just from practice as well. So doing one and then you see it built and think, oh, I'll change this or change that, and
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah, yeah. I completely agree. The more I do, the more I'm evolving and the more my style is changing. And I never really want to kind of just reproduce the same thing from client to client. I like to push the boundaries and make it just personal for them.
mm.
And so do you work really closely with the designer when you're installing someone else's design?
Yeah, pretty much. Or not. Well, depends on what you mean by really close. Like I will talk to them about certain things.
Yeah,
Uh, and the designers we work for are all ones we've done multiple projects for. So we've got a relationship. So like I can just send them a text and get an answer back. So it's not
Yeah.
like, yeah, the more you work for them, the better it's been. Um, and also something I've always liked to do is when I send them a question about something, like saying this doesn't work, I'll say, do you want to do it this way instead, and give them a solution because I've
Yeah.
worked that out before. So this is what I would do. Do you want to do that? Or they might say, no, we'll do it this way.
Yeah, yeah, I really like that. Yeah. So I used to well, I've got like a few landscapers who I work with and who I would refer to clients. And then very quickly I realized I didn't like giving all three landscapers to one client because I just hated having to say to two of them, "Oh, I'm really sorry you didn't get the job," right?
Yeah,
It just sucked. So now I kind of say to my clients, I've got three landscapers who I work closely with. I'm going to give you this one of them because he's available to start when you're ready. You own my landscape plan. You're very welcome to go and get a third quote or a second quote. But I know how much time these guys are investing just to get you this quote that I'm not prepared to burn the time of two other guys who I know are working really hard.
yeah,
And then during the process, I really enjoy it when they kind of ring with questions or they're FaceTiming.
yeah,
And I really love it when they call and go, "This is the problem, but what do you think if we did it this way?" And then we'll kind of talk through a couple of different options, get all the progress photos, which I can then upload onto my socials. And then I'm using my social media to refer clients to say, you like get a feel for who I am. Go to my social media, you'll get a real understanding of kind of the work that I produce and make sure that you like what you see. And if you don't like it, you don't have to go with me.
yeah,
But if you do like what you see, you're probably going to really like what I can do in your space. So pick the designer that suits your style because we all do kind of have a style.
yeah. Yeah, I wasn't really sure about that a while ago. I didn't like sort of when I saw designers do the same things. Like a lot of the times now, I can pick a designer by
Yeah,
looking at the garden.
yeah,
And I thought that was a negative, but then I realized that they're getting picked by the client because they like that style. And
yeah,
they're never like it's not like they're exactly the same. Like a house is exactly the same on the outside. They're always different, but there's just things, and people within the industry wouldn't necessarily notice that similarities in it. So it's also the more you know, the more you're going to see similar things. But yeah, they're picking them because they want that style. So there's no point picking, Paul Van Gated garden because you like natives.
yeah, yeah. Or if you want
Yeah,
that tropical,
exactly.
subtropical
Yeah,
thing, you don't go there.
yeah,
So now I'm at the point that I can say, this is me, this is my design, and this is like what I love doing. And if you like that, let's work together. But if that's not your style, that's okay. Find that person kind of who is.
yeah. And it's going to be a better result for both of them. They're not, like they'll be happier throughout the process. You're not wasting your time on a client, whereas you could be working with someone who you get along really well with.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
And have you got a maintenance person that you recommend as well, or is that just whoever the landscaper recommends?
Well, the landscaper doesn't actually, a lot of the landscapers that I've worked with, they don't want to be involved in any of the maintenance. They
No.
just want to like get in, build it, and like move on to the next one. So there's maintenance companies, right? And they showcase their work on social media, and it just looks like watching someone like mow a lawn in like when it's like in a time lapsed version, just looks amazing, right? So I've got a couple of maintenance companies who I like, and I just refer the clients straight onto them directly, and I'm not involved in it.
Yep. And who's a landscaping company you use?
So I'm working a lot with a guy called Callum Polaris from Timberscapes WA. He's a registered builder, which is pretty handy also, and he's just always has capacity. Whenever there's a new client, I'm like, oh, have you got room, Callum? He's like, yep, no problems. Jumps on board. And if we've got issues on site, this is why I love working with him. When there's problems that pop up, never loses it, never gets angry, never starts pointing the finger or playing the blame game. He's just a problem solver, which is kind of what you have to be, really. We work through it. Client has, minimal knowledge, go to them with the solution, and then just keep moving on with their garden installation.
Has he given you any feedback about the designs on any things?
Oh, constantly. Oh, he loves giving me feedback about the design. I get the phone calls. We're missing this dimension or the RL or so. Yeah, I'm getting sick of Callan's phone calls, which he knows about. So now what we're doing is we've set up like regular Teams meetings where I share my screen with him. I've done the design. He will normally see the design before the client does, just to make sure that he's not flagging any issues with the construction side of things. And then I flip my beautiful 3Ds into 2D and I detail it. And then I get Callan online and I'll just roll through, the retaining walls, any notes that he wants added for footings or how many brick courses or the material selection that's going to be made, linear meters, square meterage rates, heights, so much detail that goes into them. So once he's now kind of, looked over them with me, he's got a package that gives him everything that he needs. And I'm hoping my phone won't ring as much.
So is he looking at any sort of budgets before you send it to the client, like sort of giving you ballpark figures on what it's sitting at?
Oh, we might throw numbers at each other, but not spending a lot of time necessarily costing it out, because the projects can just change quite quickly. Or, the amount of times that I've had a client ring and go, actually, the basketball court's out. We don't want the basketball court. Or we've had this idea and we want to do this now. So we kind of wait till the design is finished. It's maybe even been to council, engineering's been done, and then it will all get costed. And then potentially you've got to tweak it, like, change your material selections a little bit, bring them down, get to a number that the client's happy with, and then start.
Yeah, and it's hard. It's the hardest thing to do, designing to a budget, because like I've worked in construction my whole life and still blown away how much things cost.
Yeah.
So yeah, someone who's not in it all the time, it's impossible to know.
The clients just don't know, and rightly so. And one of the things I'll say to them is, a lot of the money that you're spending, you're never going to see it. It's all underground, right? And they just, they're like, what, $200,000? And they just don't see the retaining and the earthworks and all the pipes and everything that's involved. But yeah, the numbers that are coming across my desk, they're large.
Yeah.
Things here just cost more than you will expect.
Yeah, that's another thing as well, because it's yeah, you're shipping a lot of stuff from the eastern states, I assume.
Yeah, yeah, and our labor costs are huge.
Yeah, and on the on your designs, do you put any specific info about how to treat the soil? Because that's something that continually fascinates me about WA.
Yeah, so quite well, a couple of things I like to do. If I can raise my planting beds up, so build retaining walls and then just bring in good stuff, that's kind of the easiest way really to do it, isn't it? Otherwise, it's just specifying like take out 200 mils of the top soil and then I want you to bring back in 100 mil of compost and we're going to now mix it all the way through. We'll plant it. I'll specify what fertilizers to use and then what irrigation to use and then mulch.
Yeah,
But the smart thing is just to pick plants that will thrive in WA, so you don't get clients who no one's going to care for the garden like I would care for my garden. Everyone's really busy. They want it to look good. They don't want it to be a lot of maintenance. And those two comments steer me down the path of selecting my go-to plants, which are bulletproof.
yep, yeah. Like that's something I was going to ask about your succulent bulbs. Whether you had any complaints about them, about people buy them and say, "Oh, the plants are dying," and then you get there and they're full of water because don't know how to look after them.
Yeah, so occasionally, not often with succulent bowls, or they'll send me a photo and they'll send it to me, and the succulents are just rapidly growing out of the bowl because they've got them inside with no natural sunlight, and they're trying to escape the bowl to find that light, or they've got wet feet. All of our bowls had drainage holes, but that's the two ways, right, to really kill your succulents. Not enough sunlight or soggy feet, and then they're just not happy.
Yep. I saw on your website something I love when people do it is you've listed your prices on there for your designs or starting prices.
Mhm.
How long into the business did you do that?
Instantly. I
All
didn't
right.
really, and it instantly changes. Like it's regularly, slowly been creeping up and up and up as well. One, the level of my work is getting better. The documents that I'm producing have got more details in them. I'm also finding that working with a landscaper that, he might ring and have questions and he might need things from me, but I don't then want to turn around and go, well, I'm going to charge you for this conversation or this site visit, or I'm now going to try and charge the client. So I've just thought, being like a one-man band, I just want to put a fixed fee. It comes with everything. Maybe sometimes I'm going to win a bit, sometimes I'm going to lose a bit. It doesn't really matter at this point. I'm still young in my career, and I'm just about building a solid reputation and brand in WA and making things grow. And in order to get my business to grow, I think I've got to be great value and do the right thing by clients.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's also having that there. I think it gives you a bit of confidence with the client that you like being upfront about it,
Yeah.
rather than talking to you thinking, "Oh, I'm not really sure what you're going to charge after all this." Like they've got that idea in their mind.
Well, you tell someone it's going to cost them $9,000 and they spit their cup of tea water out.
Yeah,
They've got no idea. So, and then I don't have to have that conversation at all, really. And it also stops people from contacting me if that's not what their budget is.
yep,
I don't want to charge someone a large amount of money if they want to spend $50,000 on their garden. That doesn't add up for
mm,
me. So instead of me having to have those conversations, clients will go, oh, $9,000. I might try and find the next designer. And that designer might be someone who's like fresh out of TAFE or just starting up and is looking for that, experience or projects that they can list, and they'll be a good fit for them.
yep. And do you track hours on what you spend on the project?
No, I'm just at the moment so busy that I'm just kind of doing my best to stay afloat and onboarding clients and then going through the process and then offloading them to the landscaper. I think as time goes on, I haven't put this on my website yet, but I've contacted my web developer and I'm offering it, like, I've broken the services down further. So it's no longer small, medium, and large. Now it's front yard, small, medium, and large, backyard, small, medium, and large, full blocks, small, medium, and large. So there's a whole lot of more pricing that's coming in. And then I also work a bit with an interior designer. And so maybe that's something that I'll start putting on the website just to let people know that when I bring the color consultants in, we'll just be charging a flat fee for that. But you've really got to look at the landscape holistically. So I went and saw a client last week and they don't want to touch their house. And the house is a pretty ugly color, but they want a new landscape to go in, which is what they can afford. And I totally get that. But in this landscape, we need to do some rendered block work. And so now I've got to choose a paint color for the rendered brickwork. But the house should really determine what the color is. So I'm saying to my clients, I know you're not going to paint your house now, but we know you're going to paint your house in 5 years. So why don't we use the interior designer to choose your house color now, and then that will lead into your retaining wall color. And in 5 years' time, it's going to look harmonious. Otherwise, I don't know really what color I'm choosing.
Yeah, that's something I recommend to clients as much as possible is to go do what they can afford to do at the time and do it, spread it out over a longer period of time for the garden that they want, like the dream result. Obviously,
Yeah.
depends on whether they plan on living there. They might only plan on being there for 5 or 7 years or something, but ideally, you want to be there forever and do your forever garden. So, just you don't want to do a wall that matches the existing ugly house color if you're going to change that.
Yeah, like plan the whole house and garden, and
Yep.
then just pick and choose the bits that you can tackle every financial year when you get your tax back.
Yeah. Have you got any relationships with other designers or like a business coach who like you're learning anything from?
I would love a business coach. That's on my radar. I think I want to upskill my communication skills and get a bit of a communication coach. So when you're dealing with problematic clients, you can handle them better. And I'm a member of the LDI, the Landscape Design Institute, and good friends with the lady who's the branch manager for the WA. So we've got a bit of a WhatsApp group. We do regular breakfasts, and that's like invaluable to have other designers that you can like chat face to face to about problems or things that are happening or what they're doing, and how they're doing it. But the designers over here are pretty good. I feel like I could reach out to any of them and say, I've got a question, I've got a problem with a pool fence. How am I going to make this work? I see you keep doing it. I'm struggling here. And I don't think they'd hesitate to catch up with me for a drink and walk through it.
Yeah, well, last episode was with Scott Wine from TLC Pools, and I was talking to him about how hard it would be for designers to know the regulations because there's just a ridiculous amount. So, like, is that something
Yeah.
you've got a big learning curve on?
Yeah. I listened to that podcast, by the way. That was awesome. He interviewed really well. Yeah. And each council is like a little bit different.
Yeah,
And each council will help you differently. So I've got some councils which are like, sure, send me your plans. I'll review them. They'll mark them up and send them back. And I've had another council say, oh, we won't look at anything until it's built and then we're going to come and check it. And I'm like, but what if I've designed a pool with a moat that doesn't have a pool fence and you're going to come and tell me that you've got a problem with it? That's not going to be great for me.
yeah, yeah. It's the same here in Geelong. There's like three different councils, and yeah,
Yeah.
they've all got their different strengths and weaknesses.
Yeah. You just try and like skill up as much as you can. And the documents that you have to read, they're just so long and tedious
Yeah.
sometimes. And the little diagrams, it'd be great if someone could like TikTok that for me. So in like a couple of minutes.
Yeah, and there's also like two people could look at the same diagram and think that of a completely different result from
Yeah.
it. Like I
Yeah.
think this
Yeah.
way, someone else could think it's not quite
Yeah.
like that. So
But like, so this week, I've kind of had my introduction to AI, right? And it's like changing my world personally and professionally. But it would be nice in like months to come if I could just upload my like pool plan to Copilot and Copilot could go, oh yes, Suzanne,
yeah,
you are pool fence compliant. Congratulations.
yeah,
That would make life a lot easier.
yeah, that'll happen. But then it'll say it'll tick it off, but that's actually for a different state or under different
Yeah.
councils. So you got
Yeah,
to really be specific about which council and which street it's in,
correct.
and then find out which surveyor is going to come and check it off because
Yeah.
some will pass it and some won't, even though
Yeah.
it complies.
Yeah.
It's a minefield.
Yes.
Sorry, just recently you were at the Perth Garden Festival doing some talks there. So what
Yeah.
is that the first time you've done that?
Yes, that was the first time I've done that. I think I was contacted by the LDI and they asked if anyone was interested to do a talk. And so I thought, this is my time to put myself out there. So I put my hand up and yeah, it was like sharing the stage with, Charlie from Channel 7, which was pretty exciting. And I chose to talk about what to expect when you work with a landscape designer. Like, what is the process? How does it work? What can you expect to get? What won't you get? But it was kind of specific for what can you expect when you work with me, because every designer can run their business whatever way they want, right?
Yeah.
And I just tend to try to make my life easier by doing it really simply. Fixed prices, upfront, everything is included, no weird variations or sneaky add-ons, because that's how I would like to work with someone.
Yeah, I'm exactly the same. I'm a fixed price and I hate adding things on. So
Yeah.
yeah, because I just hate awkward conversations. Because
Yes.
I know that people think that you're trying to do a dodgy when you add things
Yeah.
on, even though no one
Yeah.
ever is.
No. It's
They're
just
always
all this.
legit.
Now you don't want the basketball court. Now I've got to design a deck.
Yeah.
It's one
Or
of
fill
those
it
things.
with plants and you got to spend hours checking what
Yeah,
plants go in there.
there are new plants going in.
But no, I'll do that for free. That's fine.
But yeah, the Perth Garden Show was great. It's you know, it happens most years, and I feel like perhaps lately it's been going downhill a little bit in previous years, and the LDI has come in and done these amazing show gardens and got design students to come in, and nurseries have sponsored it. And it's really added some beautiful green spaces. And we offered 30-minute consultations to people. So they booked their consult, they came in with their plans or their Pinterest board, and they had a designer sit with them and just shoot the shit for 30 minutes and give them advice, feedback, and like sell what we do.
Yeah.
And it was really successful.
Yeah, I love that idea. Because like people see Melbourne Flower and Garden Show and want their own smaller version of it, And I
Yeah.
know, like Canberra with Floriade, they a couple of years ago they brought the show gardens back. I think there was five then, might have been seven last year, and they're going to have 10 this year. So they're building that as well.
Yeah.
So
It's so much work though.
it is, yeah, and yeah, it's a lot of money for.
A lot of money and a lot of work, and I don't know how much people actually like individually get out of it from everything that they put in. But it would be nice to get, you know, a big chunk of money thrown at it so that people that are investing the weeks and weeks of time to, you know, do the SketchUp model of they have to do the layout and go, we have to go to all these companies and go, will you loan us this furniture for the
Yeah,
weekend so we can deck it out? But, you know, one
yeah.
day we'll get as big as the Melbourne flower show, the Melbourne
I
Garden
actually,
Show.
I actually had a guy say that he was going to be doing one in Geelong. Like he said he was trying to line up, goes, I want you to be a part of the build a garden here, and we're going to be bigger than Melbourne. I said, no, you're not. Like I understand, having confidence in everything, but
Yeah.
that's you're not going to be one of the top five garden shows in the world in Geelong. Like as much as I love Geelong, it's
That's
like
not gonna happen.
there's like 250,000 people here. No one's gonna come there when there's Melbourne. It's so yeah. There's one thing about having the idea and wanting it to be good, but
Yeah.
it's a whole different thing about putting it all
Oh,
together and the
it's just
cost
a
and
beast to have to
everyone
actually do
involved.
it. What about open gardens in Melbourne? Is there an open garden scene where the public can go and tour?
Yeah, yeah. There's massive one. Like there's Victorian open gardens. I think they are. I can't remember, but I think there's a couple of different ones. But yeah, they do ones. There's like I know there's ones that seem to go on throughout the year, and then there's another one that seems to be war one time a year. So there'll be like this weekend.
Oh,
This weekend is all Melbourne, and then 2 weeks later all is regional. Can't remember
yeah,
exactly, but yeah, they're amazing to go to because you don't often get to see a full garden like like in person like that. You
yeah,
see
no, I
photos.
completely agree. So I've just put my hand up to volunteer my garden for like Open Gardens WA. And Open Gardens WA are pretty excited. They're like spruiking it as come and see your landscape designer's garden. And I'm kind of saying, whoa, 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 come and see a beautiful garden that's been built using entry level materials because we all have budgets. And you'll kind of see that you don't have to have the high end finished flooring and walling materials to create a space that flows really nicely and has got nice layered textures and is cool. Like you want it in Perth, you want it to be cool in summer and just find those winter spots of warmth in winter. That's what design is about for me, creating nooks within the landscape that at different times of the year draw people to them to sit and just enjoy.
Yeah, the first time I'd actually seen like the pool moat, so using that as the pool fence, was at an open garden I went to in Melbourne, and I couldn't believe it. I thought, How is that legal?
Were you pulling out your tape measure?
Yeah, I was spewing. I didn't have one with me because I would have been checking all sorts of things. Because that's something we've done. We did once as well. So yeah, I think the paving was maybe 300 mil lower than the pool, maybe 600 mil lower than the pool. So it was only like a 600 mil drop from the paving.
Yes.
Then went up 1,200 to the pool, and
Yeah.
it was a glass pool window as well. Like it was pretty
Yeah.
full.
Yeah. Because you can't really have them level because you need that 1.2 meter drop off, which
Yeah,
then,
and then there's also the 900 mil non-climb zone as
yeah,
well.
the radius. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
So then you've got fall from heights risks and all of this. So just to go off topic a bit, can I ask you, what design trends are you seeing over East? Is there anything that's happening right
The use of people are doing a lot more edibles within the gardens,
now? Okay.
like incorporating them not just in its own separate corner,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
like throughout the gardens.
Yeah.
'Cause I had Christian Douglas on, and that's what he does, and
Yeah.
and I love that idea as well. And I did it. The next project I did, I just chucked some strawberries throughout the garden, and the client loved it. Like they were still going in winter as well. Like they were just I must have got a good batch. Uh,
Yeah. They're producing.
yeah. So and there's also some I'll put some blueberries and raspberries in there as well. So they're going to come out back in spring. So yeah, it's just
Yeah.
some, and that's the thing. You don't need to go all out and have food everywhere. You can just do little bits and pieces.
Yeah.
Um, so
Yeah.
I think yeah, there's a lot of people doing that, and also the use of perennials is ever increasing as well.
Yeah, they look beautiful too, don't they?
Yeah, and there's just so many different varieties. It's insane. And then
Yeah.
speaking of varieties, like I found, I just did a native garden and I was blown away just of the plants I didn't know existed and are available. Just all the different natives you can choose with all the different textures and colors, and yeah, it's a lot to choose from. That's why I get so excited about doing designs because you're learning about different things and different looks rather than
Well,
just
they
doing
just keep
basics.
like PBRing new varieties of natives in particular, don't they? You're right. It's like staying on top of what's available. And I find that what they're cultivating, they're like the plants are becoming smaller and smaller, which is great because I don't necessarily want a native that's going to grow 4 meters by 4 meters. And the yards tend to be getting like smaller and smaller. And I'm really fighting for garden bed space in some areas.
So what sort of trends are you noticing over there?
Well, like the pool moats, everybody wants. You can understand why, right? If I can get a pool moat into a place, that's exactly what I'm going to try and do. I feel like people are steering away from any kind of glass pool fencing because it's getting dirty. No one wants to clean it, so it's the nice blade fencing that's going in, or slimline battens look really nice. And I'm doing a lot of retractable roofs.
Yeah.
Like they're just like an absolute game changer to make you feel like you're outside when it's retracted, but then give you that comfort and warmth. Like in summer, give you the shade, or you can use the space in winter, bring in a fire pit. So yeah, I'm loving them.
Is there any particular like paving or stone that you like using?
I try and vary it a lot. At the moment, I'm doing quite a lot of travertine based on the color selections that the clients are liking, which we're then like, what do you call it, like grouting or pave locking over it, sealing it so it goes nice and smooth and no dirt's getting into it. Yeah, the travertine pavers are really good. But some marble I've been playing around with outside, sandblasted limestone. I never thought I'd like any kind of limestone, but the sandblasted limestone is so smooth. It's lovely. Yeah.
Is,
And all the outdoor tiles, but they're just that high level product, unfortunately, but I just really like them.
is Fremantle stone, are they a big thing over there? Like they
Yeah,
still
Fremantle Stone. Yeah, Fremantle Stone is still going. And I've been working a bit with a company called Rural Stone, actually. They've got some amazing boulders. So if you can design like a native garden that's got some cool, like natural stone, big, large feature steppers, and then choose the rest of your hardscapes from that rock, that can look beautiful as well.
yeah, we did a job, it would have been 16 years ago, I reckon. And the client, I don't know how she found it, but that she got some Fremantle stone. I think it was a limestone, but it was like basically coral. Like it was
Yeah.
like you could see all different bits of coral in there. It was just the most amazing stuff. But it was like $160 a meter back then, like 16
Yeah.
years ago. So it would be over 300, I would have thought now,
Yeah, that's
if it
crazy,
if it
isn't it?
exists still.
The other product that I'm super keen on is powder coated stainless steel planter boxes.
Yep.
Like, are they an off the shelf product for you?
Um, Not that I can think of. Uh,
Apparently, Shapescaper were doing them,
okay.
but I've gone to my rep, super light on information, and I haven't been able to get a sample. But the Corten steel's not the color that the client's wanting in their Hampton style
Yeah,
house, and they
yeah,
want all the white, and you can powder coat to different colors. That's where I'm trying to take it. I'm trying to push powder coating. And so long as it's not up against like a lawn edge where people are mowing or with the snippering,
yep.
they're great for coastal conditions.
Yeah, the only
That's,
ones I can think of are the like the wrinkly tins that look like a water tank.
oh yeah, that's,
They
yeah.
exist, but they're not. Yeah, they're not. There's not as many options in shapes and sizes of them.
No, no, no. They kind of need to be, yeah. And then, yeah, they kind of look a little bit more rural, I think, for some of the
Yeah,
inner city work.
yep. So have you got any like are you working like full time now? Are you flat out?
Oh, I'm just, yeah, I'm working as much as I want or I can muster.
Yep.
So I could be running a 7-day week operation.
Yeah.
And so, people, my mum would say that my work life balance is not right at the moment. But I am early on this journey of mine. And I think I've got the next 5 years to just eat it, breathe it, live it, and I've just got this massive rock in front of me and I can see this hill and I don't know how big the hill is and I don't know how far under the ground this rock goes, but I am just going to grab it and see how far I can take it. And I'll deal with the work-life balance a little bit later on.
Yeah, there's no such thing as balance. You're doing one or the other, and as long as you're not like, your kid's got some special thing on for school and you say, no, I've got to get this design finished by a certain date because I told them I would get it done by that date. Because as long as you're actually, experiencing life,
With
then
the
balance is
kids.
fine.
Yeah, so look, my husband and I have like role reversed. So he was the primary breadwinner. He worked really hard for 23 years. And we got to the point where he said, "All right, well, I have had enough. And if you want to have a shot at, working full time, I won't shy away from the domestic duties and I'll be the backstop and I'll do the kids' sport and everything else." And so, yeah, kids have got dad home 24/7. I have had to get a cleaner in because his idea of domestic duties, doesn't always align with mine. But I tell you what, he is a much better cook than I am, and the dinners going on the table are amazing.
Yeah.
So,
Yep. My wife would echo your sentiments as well if
yeah,
if I was
yeah,
home cleaning.
he's enthusiastic. He's learning. You can't expect to be a domestic goddess overnight.
Do you have any plans in the future to put an employee on? Can you see that happening?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, definitely. So I kind of dabble with a few freelancers at the moment. They might come and help with planting plans. I'd love this, like a young little SketchUp whiz to maybe like enter my world. But at the moment, I'm just trying to keep overhead costs down to keep the business successful and profitable. It's at that fine line where, yeah, I'm probably ready to take on some help, but I just need to have secure perhaps some more work coming in, build the brand a little bit more, absolutely be drowning, and then bring someone in and have enough work for them. And then I can still be involved in the everyday running of it, but just maybe communicate design elements that I want to see. And then they can, model it for me.
Yeah. Yeah. Getting the right person makes such a massive difference whether it works well or not.
Oh, it's a huge investment and it takes a lot of time, right? You can't just
Yeah.
go, okay, like I've met the client. The clients want to see the face of the brand. And then I have to communicate all of that to someone else and do regular check-ins.
Yep.
I'm just kind of navigating that space at the moment.
Yeah. It's something that no one ever gets 100%. Like it's always, you
Yeah, the
always
first
do that.
time.
Oh, yeah. Or the 10th. You've always
Yeah.
just got to keep trying. Something with your Instagram too, I did notice was you started doing like there's probably 6 pictures I think that make up one big picture. So it looks really awesome when you go onto your profile to look at them.
Yeah, it's something new that I've been doing, and I'm gonna do a grid post for every new design. So as a way of activating my new design, I've got this great like CapCut template that I use that has like 17 images in it. So it'll be the same music for all new designs. So I'm gonna like do a reel, advertise the new design, and then that goes into my highlights, which I'm trying to get all of my projects into my highlights, and then create a grid post, which is 6 images. And it captures one of my favorite shots of the design. And when new clients perhaps hop onto my socials for the first time, along with all of like the fun other junky reels, they'll see a big image of a landscape. And that might encourage them just to like click into it or find out more. But I don't know. I'm in my mid 40s, right? And sometimes when I look at my phone screen, pictures are just too little.
Ah, tell me about it. I just squint all the time.
Yes, I just want bigger images. So it's come from getting older, bad eyesight, and just wanting to have bigger images on my screen.
Does it? Do you have like OCD where you can't do one single post? Then do you have to do post it three at a time?
Yeah, I know that is
because
problematic, isn't
that
it?
throws it out.
It does throw it out of whack, doesn't it? But yeah, no, I just keep posting the way I normally would.
Last question for you, Suzanne. Who do you think would be a good guest to have on the podcast?
Oh, I would love to listen to a garden lighting expert.
I do. Well, when I said before, maintenance is underrated. Guard lighting is the
Oh,
second most underrated thing.
yes, yeah, yep, definitely both of them. Like, imagine getting a maintenance guy on, and I've just done this epic design, and it gets handed over. How does the maintenance team know really what my long-term vision for that garden is?
Yep.
So, like the clients that can't afford the $250 Buxus ball, we're using Westringia Aussie box, but that doesn't grow like a ball, does it? I'm just kind of assuming that the maintenance team is going to know how to manicure it. And I don't necessarily want to go down the path of now creating a maintenance document to hand over so that they know. So, a maintenance guy would be amazing to listen to.
So who do you get? Do you specify lights?
Yes.
Who do you get them from?
Have it?
Oh, yep. One of my employees who worked with me for 7.5 years, I think, he just
Yeah.
left to go and work for them. So
Oh, okay.
it's probably a bit early in his career there to get him on to ask about it. He's only been there about a month.
Well, and I think I've gone down the path of Havit because that's my landscaper's preferred supplier.
Yep.
So I'm very happy to use who he recommends and who he likes working with. Because a garden spike light is kind of a garden spike light to me.
Yeah. Yep.
But learning about like the LED lights and like, so I've put LED lights in a pool moat recently. And, I learned that I had to have access from both ends of the pool moat because the LED strip wouldn't be long enough. And so by having like a lighting contractor that you can call and talk to that will tell you this is the terminology to use, this is what needs to be allowed for by the landscaper to run that strip the whole length of the moat, is invaluable when I'm putting together a document.
Yeah, I think it's helpful. Like we use gardens at night, and they're basically a one-stop shop. So I think it helps that they do it all rather than because I know like with Habit you can get um you get them from Reese, I think Reese Irrigation, or like
Yeah.
and there's probably other lighting shops get them as well, but they're basically where you're getting it from is a middleman to sell their product. So I think if they were because I think they're what are they called? Like sales people who
Yeah.
they sell to the middleman.
Yeah.
So,
Correct.
so
Correct.
they're not telling the installers how to do it.
No, no. And they're not super forthcoming with information for me either. It was really the Sparky actually that I
Yeah.
spoke to that gave me the good oil on what to specify.
Yep. Well, thank you so much for coming on. I'm looking forward to following along your journey as you continue doing some amazing designs. And yeah, thank you so much for coming on.
Thanks, Joel. You've made this an absolute delight. Been very comfortable talking with you. Thanks so much.